And where do we have to start to understand this? Like, I want to be a much better conversationalist, and I want to be a much more effective communicator. I want to argue less. I want to talk more. I want to be heard more. This is probably reflective of most people listening right now. So if I was a student of yours coming in to be trained by you, where is the first place you would start with me?
Number one,
Yeah.
you say it with control.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so when you're in an argument with somebody, what happens automatically is your fight or flight starts to take over, even in a little argument, especially even in the small ones. If I disagree with your opinion, your fight or flight kicks in because your body's saying, hey, I'm being undermined. Your mind is telling you, hey, I didn't like that. What he's saying is different from what I'm saying. You know what? We're going to think of some other things. It's going to put that down. Immediately, what I want to do is say something that is going to fight. In other words, I'm going to hurt you. I want to say something that's going to cut you. I want to say something that is hurtful, or we run from it. You ever had somebody been on the phone and go, I'm over this, and they hang up?
Yeah.
Or they go, I'm out of here. You know what? Forget this. And they go and slam the door. That's their flight. They're leaving. I feel threatened in this current moment by this conflict, by this differing view, so I need to get out of it. When you decide to say it with control, you make sure that that doesn't happen. And it all begins with your breath. All right, that's the key. So what I teach every one of my clients is let your breath be the first word that you say. So we'll run through it right now.
Okay.
That's cool?
Yeah.
All right, so let's do it an exaggerated one. And what this is called, and it takes advantage of, is a physiological sigh. So what we're going to do is 2 seconds in through the nose, one more at the top, and then go, yeah, okay. Now, how do you feel after you do that?
Very relaxed.
Yeah, all right, cool. So what we're going to do is get a shortcut to that exact result. This time, we're going to do it, same thing, but don't make the noise. One more at the top, through the mouth again. Now, instead of the mouth, only through the nose. Ready? Now we did that almost a little, that was very intentional. So let's do it again, but give it a haircut, as if like you're not even gonna get me to notice. Ready? That right there. Mm-hmm. Now that is your go-to. Whenever somebody is telling you something that you disagree with, that is your go-to before you even say your first word. Because it is going to make sure that fight or flight never kicks in. It keeps that analytical side, that logical side in it the whole time. Instead of going, oh, but wait, they can't yell at me like that. No, that's a dumb idea. Can you believe that you say, instead of that, that's your fight or flight. You never even gave yourself a chance to breathe. When you breathe and use that, what I call a conversational breath, now it allows you to go, I wonder where this is coming from. I wonder why they said it like that. Now it allows you to kind of stay detached from that current moment because you're injecting your breath into it. When you allow yourself to breathe, then it's going to keep you much calmer. And so anytime I have a client that maybe is getting a question from an attorney that would be triggering to them or upsetting to them, it's always the training of use your breath while they're asking the question and start getting really curious as to why they're asking that. What's the point that they're trying to prove? Don't look at the surface of the question. Look at the intent behind it. Where are they trying to take you? Whenever I can teach them that, it's a very powerful result.
And to do that, I have to kind of be comfortable with the fact that there will be a pause between my response and their question.
Yeah.
Which is quite uncomfortable for a lot of people.
You'd think, but the more they do it, the better it becomes. In fact, I like it because it tells you that I actually listened. So let's say, for example, ask me about just say, how was your day, Jefferson?
How was your day, Jefferson?
It was good. It was good. My day was great. It was a day. Ask me again.
How was your day, Jefferson?
It was good. It was a good day. I liked it. You see how one says, I didn't even think about what you asked me?
Yeah.
The other says, no, I actually thought about the question. I considered it. Yeah. And then I chose my answer. And so that you can do that even when, especially for leaders.
When you took that pause when I asked you how your day had been, two interesting observations I had. The first is, whatever you were about to say next, I trusted more. Yeah. Because you'd had some time to think. Exactly. And you weren't just spewing out your automatic response. So I thought, oh gosh, what's he going to say here? And there was this element of he's really thinking. He's he really cares about giving me the honest answer. And the second one is I was just so much more intrigued.
Right.
Because I could see you thinking, so I thought, this is going to be an interesting response.
Yeah.
And that was all in that 1 second where you took a breath.
You can see that a lot in interviews.
Right.
The person who you go, oh, this person is smart, is when you ask them a regular interview question, and if they give a breath before they answer, you go, oh, they actually are listening to me. The ones that have this rapid fire of, let's say, for example, and this uses another technique that we'll talk about, is if you were to say, would you bring some value? Do you think you bring value to this company? And if I automatically said, oh, yeah. I mean, I think I would. I think I'd bring a lot of value to this company. Versus, I'm confident I'd bring a lot of value to this company. Like you hear all of a sudden, you go, that's my person. They actually heard me, considered it, and I'm really curious about what they're going to say next.
There's something in the contemplation which means that I believe you checked.
Yeah.
Like it's a simpler way to describe it. In that second example where you paused and said, yeah, I bring a lot of value to this company. I was like, he actually checked.
Exactly.
He checked. He believes it, so I believe it.
Right. And that's why every time I teach a client and I'm preparing them for their deposition, what they call a depo.
When you say a client, who do you mean? You mean
people that hire me in my law firm.
Right.
And now that's translated to me doing it on my phone and teaching people in my own membership, is I would say, okay, let your breath be the first word. And once you do that, you're going to be, the other person's going to go, oh man, they really listened to my questions. The attorneys, we want to get you. We want to get you in a rapid fire. We want you to answer very quickly. Even better is when you start to step over my question and answer the question that you think I'm already going to ask. But when you do that, that means you're not listening. You're not listening. But when I can get a client to stop, breathe, and go, yeah, you know what, that's not fair. I had a client, Elizabeth, who one time when I was prepping her, I would act as the other attorney. So I do that often to help get them and simulate what's going to happen. I would say, all right, Ms. Carson, come on. I need you to answer this question. Now, that's true. It's fair to say you didn't see that other car, did you? And I kind of start to push them. That gets them really nervous. They're, oh my gosh, and their nerves get up. It's because they're not breathing. When people start to shake, they're just not breathing. And so she didn't know what to say when I'm prepping her. Come time after I taught her about her breath, same question. Somebody said, and I knew this attorney, I knew he was going to ask that question. He said, it's fair to say you didn't see that other car. And she took a breath. She goes, no, that's not fair to say. I mean, and just left it at that. I mean, and he just couldn't really do anything with it. But the bigger thing was it gave her the confidence of saying, no, I listened. I see where you're going with this. I'm not going to go there. And so it helps you navigate and empower you really with the tools of making sure you're always saying it with control. Another part of saying with control is slowing your words down. When people talk really fast, without thinking about it, it gets us kind of anxious. When somebody is talking really, really fast, you're like, okay, I'm trying to understand you. It's harder, let's say, I like hip hop, I like rap music. If you listen to somebody who's rapping really, really fast and you can't understand a word they're saying, you kind of like, okay, I'm lost in this song. I like the beat, that's great, but I can't understand what you're saying. People that slow their words down shows a lot more effectiveness when you communicate. So let's illustrate this. I want you to say quickly with almost some exasperation, I already told you I'm not going to do that. Say that real quick.
I already told you I'm not going to do that.
Say it louder.
I already told you I'm not going to do that.
Perfect. Now, what I want you to do is slow it down. Slow it way down. Each word, you don't have to have the disdain with it. Mm-hmm. Just slow it down. Say it again.
I already told you I'm not going to do that.
Say it even slower.
I already told you I am not going to do that.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Yeah. So you see how without the emotion,
yeah,
you sounded even more in control.
Yeah.
Somebody who goes, I already told you I'm not going to do that, says, I have maybe 5% control. But if I slow it down, same thing, and I say, I already told you I'm not going to do that. Now I sound like I have 100% control. This is the person you go, whoa, okay. They're not moving off their spot. They're not somebody I can't press their buttons and control their emotions that way. Say it, and using your assertive voice, is that every word matters. The number one culprit of that is the word just. We use the word just a lot. It's probably one of my weaknesses that I have is using the word just. In common conversation, no problem. Nobody cares. But when it comes to having to push a boundary, say something at work, be a little bit more on your toes, just has a way of making you sound hesitant. The most common way we hear that is if somebody goes, maybe an email or a text, hey, just wanted to check in with you. Hey, do you have 5 seconds? Just wanted to touch base with you. It sounds like you're hesitant, as if like, I don't really want to bother you. If you remove the word just, now you're leaning into it. So instead of, I just want to check in, I wanted to check in with you. That's a lot more forward progress rather than just using the word just. But every little word matters. You've had those texts where somebody gives you like a whole paragraph. I don't know how to respond to this. What I teach is that the longer your answer, the more questions you're going to get. Trouble is when people, what I see a lot are people that over-apologize. I find that is big with people pleasers, where they say, I'm sorry in every single sentence. Hey, so sorry, I'm just now getting back to you. Sorry, I just now seen this. Oh, I can't come, so sorry. Like they start to apologize for things that are not a mistake. They apologize for things that are not errors. And when you start to over-apologize with every little thing, without you knowing it, it's slowly, drip by drip, corroding your sense of self-esteem, your sense of self-worth. It's you. Your self-worth is not tied to how little of an inconvenience you can make yourself by always saying, hey, so sorry, I don't mean to bother you, I just have a quick question. Instead of the over-apologies, what I teach is use words of gratitude. So instead of the, so sorry I'm late, even though you were like 1 minute late. Thank you for waiting on me. Or thank you let's say it's an email. Thank you for giving me the time to think on this. Thank you for giving me the time to reply. Thank you for giving me the patience. And you know what the other person is going to think? I am patient. Why, yes, I am. You're so welcome. I mean, you're using words of gratitude to press that. And that's a whole lot easier than the problem of people pleasers. And that's just over apologizing to just about everything. Or they undercut their words. Or they say like, I hate to bother you, but, and then they have to say what they need to say. My dad used to tell me if I disagree with something, he would go, you don't have to like it. You just need to understand it. I mean, that right there was a great example of allowing me to connect with him and giving me the space to disagree. If you were to begin your sentence with, I'm not asking to change your mind, or I don't need to change your mind, it's almost like a relief before you say the rest of what you need to say. Now you're not in that combative fight or flight of, do I have to defend myself at any time? Number one would be set the goal of knowing where it's going to end. That is the hardest, probably the biggest downfall of the difficult conversation. People expect them to go how they had it in their head. They want the conversation to happen just like they had it while they were brushing their teeth that morning or driving on the way into work. They're like, okay, I'm going to say this, and then they're going to say this, and you expect everything to go just how you had it in your head. But as soon as they say that one thing you weren't expecting, all of a sudden they disagree with you, and you go, wait, that's not how it's supposed to be. They were supposed to say this. They were supposed to say I'm right. They were supposed to say they're wrong. I mean, how's this going to go? And then it begins to fall. When you have the last word, you are typically first up to apologize. That's all you've bought yourself. That's your prize. Congrats. And when that happens, you find a way of going, that's not really what I wanted. Why did I say that? That was just hubris. That was just me. I just had a feeling of being right. But every day you have these micro moments of the person you see is not the person you're talking to. The waitress that looks like she's being rude and dismissive is actually worried because she should have gotten off 2 hours ago and her mom is still keeping her kids. Or you have somebody who, even in the workplace, who seem like they're a little bit short on their phone call with you. Somebody who looks like they're aggravated, actually their day began because he and his wife are going through a divorce and they stayed up all night arguing. Everybody has a struggle that you can't see. They're having a conversation in their head that you were not invited to. So like, for example, I see this a lot with liars, people who lie on the stand. And in litigation, you always have people lie, even in deposition. It's just part of it. You don't really get surprised by it. But silence is the number one killer of liars because they have conversations in their head for you. So if you were going to tell me a lie, for example, And instead of me going, that's not true, and then you're going to, it's like you like that. You go, okay, good, they're engaged. Now I can start to manipulate the narrative. And you'll tell a lie, and then it forces me to try and fix it. No, that's not true. Remember, you did this and you did this, and you're trying to get around them. That's exactly what the liar is wanting. The more engaged, the more conversation, the more believable it feels to you. So then you start to doubt yourself, like, oh, maybe they did. Silence, like, just destroys them. So if you were to tell me a lie and I waited 5 to 7 seconds and I repeated the question to you, or I repeated your answer. Let's say I know that you were at the store last night and you're trying to lie to me and say, no, I was home last night. And let's say I think you weren't up to no good at the store. And you go, just say, Jefferson, I was at the store last night.
I was at the store last night, 7-Eleven.
At the store last night at the 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to this conversation in a bit, right? So all of a sudden the liar's like, oh, no, don't do that. Yeah. Don't do that. Like, oh, now you're thinking about it. Like,
you know I was at the strip club.
Yeah. It's like, I know you weren't where you say. So if you can say, you add in time, like, I'll come back to this conversation. Or if I were to say something feels off, they don't like that. Liars don't like that at all, because they want you engaged. They want more conversation. So when you slow it down and you go, it's not even saying, I don't believe you. Don't say that. That's getting them, that's more engaged in conversation. But when you slow it down and get quieter of, I'm just thinking. Liars will start to have the conversation in their head with you. They'll start to say things like, what do you, let's put myself in your position. If you said you're at the store and I didn't really believe you, you'd be like, where do you think I was? Why would I be there? Like, they start to try and get into your head so that they can fix it. They'll try to twist the narrative to place the pieces in a way of, they're not going to fill in every piece of the puzzle, the jigsaw puzzle, but just enough that hopefully you get the rest of the picture. But silence, pauses, that's where your real power is, because they can't do anything with it, and it shows that you're the one in control and they're the ones that are not.
And I guess if you're lying in that context, you want certainty that the other person believes you. So yes. The issue with the big pause you gave is, if I was at the strip club last night, I now don't have certainty that you believe what I'm saying. So I need to keep going until I can convince you
that
I was at the 7-Eleven. So now I need to push back on you and say, well, what do you mean?
Exactly.
Why are you asking this?
Yeah. Exactly.
Why are you asking me this?
Yeah. You're wanting more. Give me a conversation. We need conversation. I need it now.
Because the uncertainty is not good to deal with.
No. They get in their head about it. But it's that same concept we talked about of people who tell the truth. They have all the patience in the world. If you really were at the store and I was like, I need to think about this for a minute, you'd be like, okay. And, it wouldn't bother you, because those that have told the truth, they have nothing to hide. If you need to think on it, something feels off, okay, well, I'm here to talk about it, but that's where I was.
And you know that, regardless if they think about it or regardless of whatever they do next, I know where I fucking was.
Yeah.
So you're only going to uncover evidence that I was at the 7-Eleven last night.
That's exactly right.
You're going to look at my bank statements. You're going to see I was at the 7-Eleven last night. So there's a certain confidence that comes with that, where you don't need to prove yourself.
Yeah, it's a relief. It's a confidence of going, no, I know exactly where I am. It's that inner confidence we talked about at the very beginning. But the people who don't tell the truth, I get, if I had $1 for every time I've seen it, where I've asked somebody the question back, and they said, usually it's texting while they drive. I say, I never text. I never text when I drive. Let's say I asked somebody, you asked me the question, here, we'll run it through. So ask me the question, were you texting while you were driving that day?
Were you texting while you were driving that day?
No, I never text. Never text when I drive. Now notice, I said a big word. I said never. Never is an extreme. Extremes are a dead giveaway that they're usually not telling the truth. Everybody texts when they drive at some point in time, even in your car. Never and always or never, it's always or never true. So that's a big one. Second of all, I answered really quickly. I didn't breathe and really think about it and try and actually show you that I was trying to remember in time, give you a really immediate response. So what you're going to do, we're going to replay it again. I'm going to say same exact thing, and I'm going to ask you to give me about 5 seconds of time, and then I want you to repeat what I said slower. Cool? So ask me if I was texting while I was driving that day.
Were you texting while you were driving that day?
No, never. I never text when I drive.
You never text when you drive?
So even that, I didn't even like that.
Yeah.
So what they'll do most often is they'll even go, well, I mean, sometimes I do, because now you just hinge on that word never.
Yeah.
So now they know, oh, that's a risk word, and they'll kind of come out of it and go, I mean, sometimes I do. I mean, maybe, but hardly ever. When that happens, what you typically want to do is give them an out. Now they've put themselves into a corner, and now they're looking for an out. And a way to do that is go, if you were texting, it's okay.